So,
Okay.
the first question would be,
Yeah.
can I
Okay.
publish it on the internet?
Right. We went through that.
Yes.
Yes, you can, and as long as I get a copy of it.
I will make sure you will.
Right. And that it's it maintains some of the integrity of this recording, and doesn't isn't manipulated in such a way that a completely different kind of
All right.
intent
All right. I'll make sure you.
results from what's being said, and the character of the content. Yeah.
It's very important that you say that because I guess as a editor, you're aware
How you can
easy.
manipulate?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Well, no, I actually just as a human being living in the modern world, I'm very aware of how people can manipulate information. You know.
So the first question would be, what are you most excited about after all the restrictions are lifted?
Well, it's hard to get excited because I don't really think the restrictions should be lifted. I think it's too premature, and from everything that I've heard, this is a very peculiar virus. It's a peculiar animal, and it's hard to get a beat on it and to know exactly where it's going. And evidently, since there are hotspots around the globe that are still blossoming, and it makes no sense at all, I think, to free up the restrictions, because it's almost like asking for a second wave to come. It's you're taking basically for granted that, or you're willing to risk that there will be casualties and people will suffer. Uh, you know, for maybe the purpose of business. I mean, it's happened before. It's probably the driving factor to reopening. I think most scientists would, from what I've heard, would be against it, and recommend, to put it off until we know more, which seems like a lot of common sense, I think. So I'm not really, enthusiastic about the restrictions being lifted. I think that we could have waited a bit longer, and maybe made a more educated guess.
The most important person to you during all this
So
time?
during all this social distancing,
Yes.
the most important person.
Yeah.
Well, they're all still, even before the social distancing, the people that were important to me, are still important, of course. Even though I don't see them as much. And that includes family too. I mean, I have no idea when I'm gonna. My mom is 96. I don't know when I'm gonna see her again. She's in Vermont, and as far aviation seems to be, a dead issue at this point. I mean, I can't see that industry picking up again to where it's been. There's no way that's going to happen, and so I don't know when I'm going to, make that trip. And then, of course, there's also the safety issues, being in a closed fuselage, and so. But no, all these people are still very dear to me, and we mess around with with FaceTime and all that other stuff that the old technology, which is fun, but it'll have to do.
Would you say that you're scared of the coronavirus? Why or why not?
I think I pretty much covered that. I mean, I think that it's not more, it's respect. It's not really fear, because I think it's the more we research it and try to get to know it, as a mutual inhabitant of the earth, the less fear will be an issue. And we'll be able to perhaps live in coexistence still. So yeah, I don't. Does that answer your question?
I've answered it. Yes. Then something more like a general question, which would be, we talked about fear in regard to Corona, but what would you say is your biggest fear?
Without Corona,
Yes.
well, I think Corona and I think the climate crisis um, has instilled. Did you say the word fear? Is it fear?
Fear, yes.
So you're back on fear again. I think it's a concern. It's like again, I say it's it's fear is maybe too premature. I mean, I think these are issues that can be tackled, if there's a will, and the more people that get on board with it, the more the better the chances are that we can tackle it, and then there's really no need for fear in the end, I mean, we have the technology, and we have really smart people that can, lead us. The problem is they're not in those positions. We have, for the most part, used car salesmen as far as I'm concerned.
Something that struck you as very important that didn't strike you as much before Corona hit?
If I understood your question correctly, no, I guess I haven't understood it. No, you have to
Some
repeat
people,
it.
some people say suddenly they noticed how important it is um, to be closer to your family, or how important it is to um, not take something so
Oh, okay,
seriously.
you're right. No, I think the lesson that I'm learning from the Corona, is a lesson that I've already, have been, learning continuously, and that is that we have to, deal with the situation of humanity taking over all the natural resources in the world, and and how we just need to find a balance, and Corona is just another example. I mean, there's so many we have. I mean, going back to the 70s, basically we knew with acid rain, for example, where all of this was going with our influence on the environment. And so it's just another reminder. It's another sign. If in case you haven't gotten it yet, um, you're overstepping your bounds. And so, no, I mean, I'm not surprised by Corona at all. And I'm sure the United Nations hasn't been surprised at all either.
Yeah, I guess many institutions tried to warn everybody, but it
Yeah,
didn't really
yeah.
turn out.
So like I said, yeah, like it's all there. I mean, you have all the resources are there. You have all. Actually, it goes beyond the technology. You also have the governmental structure, that you need, not theoretically. I mean, it's not, unfortunately, there's still a lot of work to do, in combating dictatorships, which seem to be, another kind of disease that we have to deal with at the same time. So we have we have enough to do for a while.
True. One thing that I guess, came up only during this time is that there are many, or there's a feeling which can strike old and young people, which comes through solitude, which is the feeling of loneliness. So the question would be, do you feel lonely sometimes? What do you do against that?
Yeah. I'd have to think about that. I mean, lonely. I said sometimes. I mean, I think there's a certain kind of loneliness that hasn't, for me, that hasn't changed because of the social distancing and the corona. And that's just, the awareness of that you are an individual and you're basically here on your own, and you have to, make sure you, you know, yeah, respect your boundaries, basically, and so yeah, I don't know. I hope that answers your question. I think it's getting close to dinner time. So I think I'd like to take off.
That's all right. That's all right. Can I ask one question? One very general question, which is not in any way personal.
Okay.
Do you think in 20 years people will be better off or worse off, or humanity as in general?
I would think, considering all that we know and all the resources that we have, the fact that we can, I mean, some people, think they would be better off on Mars, so they're trying to get there. But I think that all that, all those resources could be used here on the Earth because, and it can be manageable, and it's just a matter of adopting, what we already know. I think. Yeah.
Perfect. We can wrap it up here.
Thank you. Appreciate that. It was fun.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Okay.
I,
Don't forget the link.
yes, we should.